Okay, what's going on, everybody? My name is Mangg. Welcome back to Hanging with Mangg on another fine Sunday on this planet Earth, if you're not aware. We're gonna be playing some Monster Hunter. This is Monster Hunter World. If you don't know, now you know. Monster Hunter Rise is coming out this Friday, and I think ordinarily I probably would be playing a little bit of the previous Monster Hunter just to kind of get prepared. But it just so happens that I've been introducing some friends to Monster Hunter World, as I talked about, and so just sort of coincides, and it's all coming together. So yeah, pretty excited for Rise. Pretty excited for Rise. In World here, I've just been sort of messing around, bouncing through all sorts of different weapons, just to, you know, try things out again, see what I like, see what I don't like, see what I want to go with for my Rise playthrough. And so right now we're mucking about with the bow, which I have not really spent, like, any time with. This is really, like, the second hunt I've ever done with a bow. And, yeah, I mean, most likely, look, we're probably going to end up with Sword and Shield in Rise for that playthrough, just because it's just good. It's just such a good weapon. It's just so satisfying, you know. Everybody's got a weapon like that they just connect with, you know. But I was debating about Longsword. Longsword's good. I do like Longsword. I don't think I'm as good with Longsword as Sword and Shield. The thing is, Sword and Shield, to me, it just feels kind of like relentless. You wouldn't think like, oh, you know, you do crazy DPS with Sword and Shield, but you do, because it's just, you're constantly on it, you know, you're constantly on the monster. I don't ever have to really, like, set things up or, you know, anticipate. You know, it's just like bam, 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 you know, just non-stop for the whole hunt. It's great. It's so mobile and good. When I'm doing Longsword, though, oh yeah, I thought I was, whoops, thought I was using Sword and Shield there for a second because I was talking about it so much. What was I talking about? Right, so Longsword, you know, a lot of your DPS comes from having the triple, the red gauge for your fucking the sword gauge. I don't know what the official term is, but you know, you got to charge up the sword gauge by pulling off the spirit slashes and connecting with it, and that buffs up your sword damage. So you do more damage when you're on the red gauge rather than when you just start out the hunt. Which is good. I mean, it's a satisfying weapon, don't get me wrong, but you gotta sort of set it up like that to get the full potential. And yeah, that wasn't good. Like I said, it's my second hunt with the bow. Cut me some slack. That's pretty satisfying. I do like that. And then the cool badass thing with the longsword that they added in World, I think, is the sort of foresight slash, where basically you go into like this stance, you know, and if an attack would hit you while you're in that stance, you can then go into the final move of the spirit slash. So it really allows you to quickly up your gauge, your sword gauge, if you sort of time it properly and position it properly with that move. And that's badass, but the problem is you spend a lot of your time, or at least I do, I spend a lot of my time, like, trying to pull that off because it's just the coolest thing in the world. And then, you know, I don't pull it off, and if you don't pull it off, it sort of punishes you. And it's not as cool whatsoever. I didn't refill any. Oh no, I can't even use power coatings on this one. We can use blast coating though, that's cool. Oh, nice. Oh. So anyway, yeah, what was I saying? What was the point? What was the point? I like longsword. I'm just not great with it, and I think if I was better with it, it would be like, holy shit, this is the greatest thing to ever exist. So I was... Whatever weapon we decide to do the playthrough with, obviously I'm going to get a lot better with. Or that would be the hope. So I don't know, I was like, oh, maybe Switch Axe, maybe it's Switch Axe's time to shine, because when I did the demo, it had that cool new wire bug move that I liked with the Switch Axe that I thought was pretty powerful, so I was like, you know, we could consider that. Maybe Lance, maybe it's time to go back to Lance, I don't know. Maybe bow, I don't know. Maybe dual blades, I don't know. Light bow gun again. You know, I did the, I did my first playthrough of World with the light bow gun. But that was when... I did that when slicing was the bee's fucking knees. For those who don't remember, when World launched, the bowgun slicing ammo was absurdly powerful, to the point of basically you didn't need any other ammo. All you needed was slicing ammo, and you could beat the whole game, and that's basically what I did. So they nerfed slicing ammo heavily, like right after I finished my first playthrough. And ever since then, I've never really connected too well with the bow guns. I don't know, it's just... I don't really feel like they're ever that powerful. But I digress. What's up, Durden? I hope my weekend has been well. It has been pretty well. You know, it's been work. There's been work involved. That's every weekend. I mean, like I said, 7 days a week. Plenty of people work 7 days a week. It's not like outrageous. I don't know what I'm doing with this bow. I don't know what I'm doing with this bow. It just feels kind of cool for a bow, all things considered. There we go. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, we don't have to stick with one weapon either for a Monster Hunter playthrough, so we might bounce around. But yeah, that will be Friday. That will be Friday. So yeah, before I go into the channel stuff, as you may or may not know, as I've been talking about, in the process of house hunting. I mean, I would say, for all intents and purposes, a house has been hunted. We have found our prey, but you don't always get your prey, you know, whether you're a human, hunting other humans, or you're a predator hunting humans, or whatever. Yeah, you know, back to the original point. We have a house. We went and saw it a second time. And we say we, I mean, this is entirely me. It is my purchase. I didn't grow a spouse or something that I didn't tell you about. When I say we, I really just mean like my family that's interested in the house and hanging out at the house and all that with me, helping me decide. But yeah, you know, I went and saw the house second walkthrough. It looked even better than the first time. You know, we like it even better. It's all good. But it's a matter of getting the house, you know, because basically they are asking too much. They're asking too much money. They're dreaming. Basically, they are dreaming. Like, it's outrageous. Because, I mean, the big factor is their whole basement is not finished. A small section of it is. A small section of it has been finished. They decided to just do that. So there's like a little bathroom that's been finished in the basement. The rest is all, it needs the walls, it needs the ceilings, it needs the floors, it needs fun, it needs everything. You know, you got these big copper pipes all over the place. I mean, it doesn't look good. So that's a big thing. They are basically asking a price that would include a finished basement. And they don't have a finished basement. And it's weird. It's honestly weird for a house like this to not have a finished basement, because they've been living there for years. I mean, this house wasn't built like this year or something like that. It was built years ago. So it's weird that they just never got around to doing this. And yet they seem to think people will pay as if they did. It's almost like they sort of just like gave up and like felt like, oh, we're gonna move soon. We're gonna move soon. Don't bother. Don't bother doing anything else. The house is good. Just let's get it out of here. And then they just took years to actually put it up on the market and try and sell it. So I don't know. There's a couple other minor issues we noticed, but that's really the major thing. And so yeah, so right, we have not put in an offer yet. I have not put in an offer yet. My realtor, you know, I've got a great realtor. Really good at what she does. She's basically like building her cake. She's building her case, you know. Her opening arguments, or what, you know, I don't know how the whole process works, but she wants to come in with a strong argument of why we're asking less than you know, they want. I mean, the reasons are clear to anyone, probably even the owners, but you know, we want to lay it out there as like, look, this is the best you're gonna get. Don't kid yourselves. That's how it is, because no one else is really biting, or whatever the case is. It's been on the market for over 2 months now. But I assume we'll be putting in an offer this week, and we'll see how it goes. So like I say, you know, the house has been hunted. It's our prey, but these people might be insane or something. You know, who knows what. They might just be like, you know, your offer offends us so much, we want now double the asking. You know, who knows what these people are like. They might, you know, I don't know. But I would like the house. Obviously, I'm very interested. We're all interested. It would be a great house. If we don't get it, there's plenty of houses in the sea, as they say. But that's what's going on. I'm gonna get some sort of house, because I got a puppy on the way. Puppy can't live here. We gotta get a house for the puppy. Some friends of mine were in a similar situation. They had a professional third party come in to assess the value of the home. Is far less than what was being asked. There you have it. I mean, yeah. And in a lot of, yeah, I mean, in general, people are asking for a lot of money, and there's bid wars going on, and it's a bit of a seller's market right now. But for this sort of price point, this home, no one seems to be going for it. So clearly they're asking just a bit too much. Now you fuck. So yeah, that's what's going on with that. So I mean, either way, like I said, I'm gonna get a house sooner or later. So I'm starting to kind of pack up and tidy things around here. Putting all the board games away. Sort of correct some odd bachelor decisions that I've made that won't interest other people. Such as the television in my bathroom in front of the toilet, you know. It's a great thing, and I'll be doing it at my new place as well, don't get me wrong. But, you know, people, a family perhaps, or whatever, buying it, you know, they may want a mirror there instead. The giant table that takes up my entire living room because that's where we have, like, game night. Other people may want, you know, a couch in front of their television in the living room. I don't know. All right, anyways. This isn't good. Nope. Anyways, I got some things to say about this channel this week. Some announcements. So as you'll notice, there wasn't a whole lot of Bravely Default 2 this week, and instead I started up the Doom Eternal DLC. You cannot cancel that Dragon Piercer. It's crazy. So look, I mean, Bravely Default 2, when I first started playing it, it just like blew me the fuck away. And then I think I just sort of went overboard. I think became too powerful, and I just played it so much, just like grinding and stuff, that it just I don't know. I sort of lost some drive. And I mean, that's part of it. And I probably would have continued, except we have the Doom Eternal DLC, which I really want to play. And that won't take that long, but then we've got fucking Monster Hunter Rise. And you know Monster Hunter Rise has to take the center stage. It's a Monster Hunter game. That's just what we do. Hey, that was cool. It's kind of a cool weapon. And I want to continue the Divinity stuff. I still have a few episodes recorded, ready to go, and, you know, that'll continue on for a little while at least. So I didn't really want to cut that. I didn't... You know, I want to do Monster Hunter. I wanted to do Doom Eternal. It just didn't all mesh. If something had to be dropped, it was going to be Bravely Default 2. A game that I was already just sort of skipping through everything. And, you know. We were basically just doing boss battles. Of which they were not that difficult either. So, you know. I'll probably continue to play it at some point, but on my own. So yeah, that's basically what's happening, is Bravely Default 2 got dropped for the Doom Eternal DLC, and I imagine that won't take too long to get through, if it's similar to the first one. And we'll slide into Monster Hunter Rise with Mangg Hunter. It really is just Mangg plays Monster Hunter Rise. The reason I did Mangg Hunter, which was either for Try or for 3 Ultimate. I don't remember how we started Mangg Hunter. But I did Mangg Hunter because it wasn't a full playthrough. I was just making Monster Hunter videos of just like me doing various hunts and things like that. It was not an actual full playthrough. It just became that with every subsequent release. But I've kept the Mangg Hunter name. So, yeah, that's the plan there. We're up to 4 live streams a week now. We're up to 4 live streams a week between Hanging with Mangg, Two Brothers Play, the Variety Stream on Wednesdays, and now we're back to Roll Manging, which I'll get to a little later. But yeah, plenty of streams, plenty of videos. It's all going well. For the Variety Stream this last week, we finished up Hunt to Killer Blair Witch. That is all done. I'm not planning any more Hunt to Killer stuff for the time being, unless they do something else that really interests me. So I think for the next Variety Stream, we're gonna do the Dark Pictures anthology, Little Hope, or whatever it's called. The sequel to Man of Medan. So that should be some kind of goofy fun, I think. Some sort of light, some B horror goodness. Needed to pop that on. How dare you? Come on, hitboxes. What's up, Shady? Yeah, that wasn't that satisfying. That might have been a waste of time. Okay. Yeah, so that's what's happening on the old Exploring series. Our plan is to finish Final Fantasy X next week, because we're both going to be grinding on our own time during the week. So when we come in, we should be all powerful and good and ready to rock and roll and beat the game. For the first time. I mean, for the first time on Two Brothers Play will we actually beat a game. Other than A Way Out. We did finish A Way Out, because how could you not? Fuck you, man! Is that a Moogle? It is, yes. Monster Hunter and Final Fantasy I mean, you could say it was a crossover with Final Fantasy, but I think specifically it was a crossover with 14. So, Monster Hunter World got some stuff. It got a... your Palico can turn into a Moogle, which is nice. It's got all sorts of little Moogle sound effects and things like that. And... I think you can get a Cactuar. Like, got what they call it. Not a decoration, it's like a little endemic life or whatever. For your house, you can get a little Cactuar, I think. And there's a whole... there's a whole hunt. There's a big fight you can do against a behemoth. Which, brought in some interesting mechanics never before seen in Monster Hunter. It was kind of a crazy fight. And with that fight, you got a Dragoon armor, which is now a layered armor you can have, and I'll show it to you after this, which looks pretty sweet. So obviously it's like Final Fantasy 14 kind of styled Dragoon armor, not like Sid Highwind from Final Fantasy 7 kind of clothes. And you got an animation. I don't know if I have that on like my shortcuts or not. Might. Smart money is on Lego never finishing Final Fantasy X, just salty never finished 6. Yeah, I know. Me too. But I you know, I've lived with them for a long time, so I know how it is. Ooh, nice. I don't think Dragon Piercer is really the best. Alright, that was maybe okay. You fuck! I don't think I have. No, maybe. No, how do you, gesture? It's a gesture, right? Or is it? I don't know. What is it, a pose? Oh, I don't remember how you get that. I don't remember. There's a thing you get where you basically like do the jump animation from like a Dragoon. So you just sort of like fly up in the air and then come crashing back down. It looks cool. Anyways. Never finished Final Fantasy VI. Yeah, that was the funny thing, is that after that, I decided I wanted to do the story of Final Fantasy VI as like a video for the Exploring series. So I actually went back, I went through, and I played through the entire game again, and beat it. Yeah, I finished the whole thing, you know. I recorded everything, I did all the side quests, you know, full, like, 100% kind of completion thing. And I just went and did that before he has ever beat the game. So yeah, you know. He's always been like that, of just never finishing a game, and... I mean, it certainly seems weird to me, but it is what it is. There we go. Right. So, I don't know if he'll finish Final Fantasy X. It really depends on if he grinds and does his thing during the week. Yeah, I'm already at a position probably where I could beat the game, but I like going for the full craziness of doing the whole monster arena, so of course I'm going to do that. But either way, I think we'll be done with 10 in some form or another next Saturday. And then we'll move on to some Monster Hunter Rise co-op stuff for a few weeks, which should be fun. Little bit harder to eat wings while doing some Monster Hunter co-op, but we'll make do. Yeah, all right, anyways, over on to the exploring series. I released a video on Memento Mori. Wasn't that this last week? I believe so. Unless I'm wildly mistaken. No, it was Memento Mori. That one was received really well. The author, Rounderhouse, also really liked it, which is great. And then I did another live Q&A. People popped in, you know, we had a decent turnout. It was a fun time. I always like doing those. My concern is if I do it every month, it's eventually just going to devolve into the same questions every single time, and it's going to get lame and boring, but for now, it's been good. Let's switch over to land. Let me try something with the lance. Let me try no, let me upgrade it and we'll try a Baroth with the lance. Memento Mori was amazing, or the Q&A was amazing? I assume the Q&A was not amazing. And that's usually not the word you would use to describe it. So Memento Mori was amazing as far as just an SCP. That was really knocked that one out of the park. Rounderhouse did. Can already predict about 5 questions I get every time. Yeah, I know, that's sort of like, because I, as a person in life, don't often like repeating myself. You know, it's just one of those sort of pet peeve kind of things. Just not that that enjoyable. And so yeah, just answering the same few questions every time that pop up. What's my favorite SCP? What's the least favorite SCP? What's the favorite video I've done? When is Gamers Against Weed happening? Will I ever do blah blah blah? When are you gonna go back to Warhammer 40k? You know, and I don't really blame people. I don't know how much, it's not like I'm that interesting of a person. There's only so much you can ask me. But that's the downfall of doing monthly Q&As. Did I see the Snyder Cut? No, not yet. At some point. It's a bummer because I feel bad if I like break it into like four 1-hour chunks. That seems wrong to me to do to a film, but the idea of sitting down for 4 hours straight and watching a superhero movie that I probably am not gonna like love is a little daunting. So I don't know. At some point. Can we see the cat? What's the cat's name? Can you play guitar? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. I mean, at least this time we actually got a cat on screen. That was new. Maybe next time I'll get some other cat on screen. how it is with all people or topics. You can only ask so much of anyone or ask on any topic. Yeah, for the most part. I mean, if I was like some cool jet setter YouTuber that was like, well, we're in France today, and then next week is like, well, we're in Tunisia today, and oh, we're in Brazil today. You know, I don't know. There's probably all sorts of stuff you can ask them, but me, it's just, I'm still here in the same place I was last month, and there's some videos that I've been making, and you saw them, and that's it. Yeah, so that was all good. That was all good. No complaints about last week in the Exploring series world. But last week I worked on a video about the Oniroi Collective. So this is a group of interest that is very mysterious. I mean, we've covered most of like the well-known or well-understood groups of interest. You know, you've got your GOCs and your Church of the Broken God and your Sarkics and blah 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 blah. When you get to the Oniroi Collective, basically all I'm doing is just, I'm talking about a handful of SCPs that are connected very loosely. Kids love me, who am I to deny them my presence? It's true. It's true. And I mean, I do get super chats, which is nice. It's a nice perk. If I didn't get it, I would still do the Q&As, but that's nice to, like, if I ever feel down about a Q&A, it's like, well, you know, you get some money thrown in, it's pretty good. So yeah, Oniroi Collective is just weird, some weird shit. It's gonna be like the weirdest bundle of SCPs that I have yet to talk about. Including one that isn't really an Oniroi SCP, but I threw it in because it was just so fucking weird, and it's like, well, when else am I ever going to talk about this? And it has to do with dreaming, so it's good enough. Alright, I mean, Lance isn't... I mean, that's basically what I expect out of Lance. It's, like, not particularly exciting, but it definitely gets the job done. Pays for the wings. Yeah, basically. I mean, and then some. We don't order that many wings, but it certainly does pay for the wing. Right, yeah, so great to listen to during your Dark Souls playthroughs. It's some weird shit. And my concern is that the really weird one that I include at the end has to do entirely with milk. And I apparently pronounce milk in a weird way. I don't know if it's a Wisconsin thing or just a Mangg thing, but I think I've used the term milk in some other video and I got a lot of comments about it. I don't know exactly... I don't know how to pronounce it properly. Milk? I don't know. I don't know. I pronounce it just how you do. And people find it odd. So, yeah, I use the word milk like 45 times in that episode. So, yeah, I'll just disable YouTube comments, probably. Next week, I think I'm working on... Gosh. I don't think it's food SCPs. Not yet. Prometheus Labs is the clear winner of the polls, which is pretty crazy. I mean, the polls, when I used to do polls, like a long time back, we would get like 20 votes or something for each week. We're up to like 190 some. I don't know, this week especially, people have been popping off, because the last, while, we've just been in the 150 area. I think this is like a record. This week's a record. People really came out in force. 194 votes. But yeah, the majority is going towards Prometheus Labs. So another sort of, just group of interest, group of SCPs. Sounds like I pronounce it with an E at the end as milk. Oh, like I'm milk. Yeah, like I'm sort of sign at the end on milk. And it should just be milk. Milk. Yeah, I don't know if I can't. I don't give a shit. I think I got a message from someone a while back that was just like, your voice... They liked that my voice was just, like, universal. Like, they could not detect any sort of, like, nationality, ethnicity, a region. It was just, like, a pure voice, which it is not. I don't know what that person was talking about. Clearly, they never heard me say milk. I think if I was like some professional voice actor or, if I was a voice personnel on anything but YouTube, I'd probably take some efforts to try and fix my milk pronunciation or my mirror pronunciation. But it's just my YouTube videos. People will get over it, so. Yeah, so that's that, and I'll be releasing episode 6, the story of Final Fantasy XIV this week, Heresy in the Icy North. So I expect most of the comments to be about, to be 40k references about heresy and blah blah blah, because... you can't use the word heresy anymore. You really cannot use the word heresy anymore without people associating with 40k and including 40k gifs of Space Marines and stuff. My voice is soothing to listen to. It has a sort of deep ring to it. I assume you mean bassiness. Yeah, I don't know if I'm naturally especially bassy. I do play it up a little bit for the exploring stuff. And when I was setting up my microphone and I was going through like filters and equalizers and things like that. And I was reading guides and they're like, oh, use this to add more bass to your voice. And it's like, I don't think I actually need that. It just becomes very muddy if I add bass. Yeah, heavy flamers and bolters and yeah. And it's obvious, like, dude, I'm talking about Final Fantasy. You can put away the bolters. God. Pile of shit here. So yeah, the Final Fantasy 14 video is covering all of the Kurthos stuff up through Garuda. So it'll end with the Garuda fight. Which is a longer video than I have made of Final Fantasy in the last while, but that will get us the 7th episode dealing all with the Garlean Empire up through the end of A Realm Reborn, so should be good. In a couple weeks, we'll be done with A Realm Reborn. And I think even that alone, just having a summarized video series of A Realm Reborn is probably pretty useful just to have out there. I mean, I'm hoping that people find it and it actually starts to get, like, recommended. If people ever ask, like, oh, you know, I don't really want to play through the story of Realm Reborn, can anyone recommend something? You know, it would be nice if the first answer is just like, oh, check out the Exploring series. He did a nice little series of it. But we'll see. Moving on, because I'm sure I've been talking for long enough here. Let's talk about RPGs. Tabletop RPGs. So first of all, my mom did her second session as a DM. No, her third session. This would be her third session now. Oh boy, we're moving along. So she finished up the module Treasures of the Broken Horde. And really her problem with the third session was the same problem as the first two sessions. Or more the second session. And that's reading and speaking in between the lines of a written module. And I'm sure plenty of DMs, especially early on, have that issue. Where you become sort of a slave to the script. You have this script in front of you. It has all the info about the adventure that you need to know. You know, it tells you where the monsters are. It tells you the stats. It tells you the plot. It tells you the layout of the dungeon, so on and so forth. It tells you where the players need to go next in order to continue the plot. And it might even have, it probably has some text. It probably has some text for you to read out loud to the players when they arrive in, like, at a new location or in a new room. It'll have some descriptive text. But then that's it. And when a DM then gets asked a question that is not on the script, they don't know what to say. They don't know how to improvise. They don't know how to deal with a question that isn't, the answer isn't available to them on a piece of paper. And it doesn't really teach them how to deal with that either. So it's just sort of a rote, sort of almost board game experience where you just sweep through room to room and you fight things. Sure, I mean, that's fine, I guess. But coming up with creative solutions to problems, that's going to cause issues. Or when the players ask questions that they don't really need the answer to. It's not relevant to the plot, but they want an answer to it. that causes issues because, you know, the DM has to come up with an answer that the writer didn't think of. And I mean, this could be very basic things. You know, as an example, you know, the text may describe how one wall has been painted or something like that, and the paint is really fading and cracked. And I just ask, what color is the paint? Now, for an experienced DM or whatever, you know, someone that has no problem improvising, and maybe they came up with this on their own, it's like, oh, of course, but the paint is this color. The paint is green. But when someone is just training themselves entirely based off of the script, even something as minor as that just causes their head to spin because, and this is literally what she would do, she would start just scanning the paper. She would start flipping through the pages, hoping desperately that it mentions the color somewhere, you know, instead of just her first thought being, oh, it doesn't matter. And I'll just say red, I'll just say green, I'll just say purple and whatever, you know, it's just that sort of just instant responsive improvisation is not coming to her because she's just desperately hoping for answers in the pages. So, I mean, that situation did not come up, but that's what I'm sort of giving as a basic example, but things like that. So that's part of the issue. It's her not, I mean, that's really the main issue. It's just presented in different forms. The main issue that we had with the session last night, that really that I had to sort of just school her on, was we came into this encounter where there was this giant diamond in a room. And obviously we wanted the diamond because we're looking for treasures. But as soon as we approached the diamond, these three flying balls of energy appeared and started attacking us. And we attacked back to no avail. I mean, we were clearly we were rolling damage and all that. We were connecting with it, but it didn't do anything. These things were not dying. And so my mom was like, oh, every time you hit one of these things, they all flicker, and the diamond flickers. So clearly, there's some sort of connection between these things and the diamond. And so on my turn, of course, I launched an attack at the diamond, and I hit pretty hard. I mean, as it turned out, it had 15 HP, and I did 10. So, I mean, I hit it hard. Which is what we were supposed to do. We needed to destroy the diamond in order to kill these things. But her problem was that when I did that, she said, oh, you hit the diamond and it flickers and all the other things flicker. That's how she basically described it. She basically described it in the exact same way as if we hit one of the balls of energy. She didn't, she didn't change it in any way. And I clarified, I'm like, okay, so visually there was no difference between us hitting the diamond and hitting the balls of energy. And she's like, that's right. And so I let the situation sort of just play out. I mean, I obviously knew we needed to destroy the diamond. I mean, it's clear. But basically, I tried to teach her a lesson here. Maybe I shouldn't have, but that was the idea. Pretty much everyone else got fed up, and we just basically fled the temple, and we didn't destroy the diamond. We didn't take the diamond. We just sort of left it there, and blah, blah, blah. We just ran away. And afterwards, I told her, I was like, okay, you want us to understand that we need to destroy the diamond. Your goal as a DM is not to try and trick us or really try and obfuscate things or our goal here is to have fun, and us running away and just giving up is not that fun. So what you needed to do is make it much more clear when I hit the diamond once that that was what we needed to do. She should have said is that I hit the diamond and you see that all the balls of energy suddenly dim. You know, they suddenly grow much dimmer when you hit the diamond. That would have signaled to us, oh, hitting the diamond is really the key here. Find it pretty cool she's making the effort to try her hand at DMing. It's very cool. And, you know, we all think it's great and we want her to get better, but it's tricky. Like I said, it's an entirely new skill set she's never had to exercise before in her life. So, I mean, we finished the whole adventure. It was basically just like a series of combat encounters with a couple of riddles and things in there. A couple of like small puzzles. It was a very basic adventure. And so afterwards I had two thoughts. One, I had a thought of, I wonder how much better this would be, or how different this would be if I was not present. Because I'm obviously the one that knows all the rules, and I have the most experience, and I'm the one sort of bringing up logical issues and bringing up questions that the others would never ask, and that, you know, forcing my mom to improvise and things like that. I mean, the others would never do the others would just go through the combat encounters and blah, 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 blah. And yeah, they would very likely get rules wrong and things like that. But at the end of the day, if you're just playing and you all have fun, who cares? And so I wonder if I wasn't there and if I wasn't being the rules lawyer and correcting them constantly and asking questions and blah, 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 and throwing wrenches in the engine of, well, you know, how do we know that blah, 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 or why would this be blah, blah, blah. I wonder how it would go without me there. The other thing that I thought of is maybe it would be good for her to try doing her own scenario that she just sort of mostly improvises, that isn't written down, you know, from someone else. And to just sort of get her more comfortable with improvising rather than running off of a full script. So I have a PDF I bought a long time ago and I've never really used. Let me try and find it. Fire up this external hard drive that takes like a minute. Where would that have been? Here. It's called Eureka, 501 Adventure Plots to Inspire Game Masters. And so all this is basically 501 ideas or setups for one-shots, for like short adventures. And these are system agnostic, setting agnostic. You could run these with D&D, you could run this with Shadowrun, you could run this with Call of Cthulhu. I mean, you could run with you'd have to change some things. They're all sort of written for basic high fantasy kind of stuff. But yeah, you could adapt these in all sorts of different ways, and just it leaves it very open and allows you to customize it and improvise all sorts of stuff. I think they have it broken up between like fantasy sort of ideas that you could adapt to other things, and then like sci-fi things you could adapt to other things. But anyways, let me just grab one randomly here. This is sort of a basic fantasy one. They're all like 5 paragraphs or something like that. Here we go. Power vacuum. The heroes are in a remote town and have recently vanquished a local threat, such as monsters or bandits. As they depart, they meet a man on the road who's heading in the direction from which they came. They strike up a conversation with the man and find out that he's a mercenary who is heading to the remote town because he heard that there was trouble in the area. After a bit of conversation, the heroes continue on their travels. Weeks later, after completing a quest, the PCs come back by way of the remote town. As they near the town, a group confronts them and demands tribute, a highway tax imposed by the new warlord of the area. The PCs will learn from the group that the warlord is the mercenary who they passed on the road weeks ago. When the heroes confront the warlord, he explains to them that the threat they vanquished was only an advance guard, and that others follow to avenge the fallen. For protection, the townsfolk turn to the mercenary, who then took over the town. He thanks the PCs for creating the situation that has made him the warlord. And it turns out that he's like a, real asshole. He's like crushing the town with his taxes and blah, blah, blah. And then, like, they're gonna, if they want to go and confront him, like, another group of enemies that they vanquished earlier comes in, and it's like too many for them to handle, so they might have to work with the warlord to defeat the threat. And I mean, that's just one. That's one of 501. So it's basically just like a plot setup. And it doesn't give you maps, it doesn't give you names, it doesn't tell you like what types of enemies or anything like that. It's all just up to you to customize. It just gives you an idea to sort of springboard off of. And I thought about just, okay, I'm gonna just print off a few of these, like a few pages of these, and just give it to her, and she can pick one and make up a scenario on her own to give that a try. I don't know if that's the best thing to do, or if I should just give her another module to run. I don't know. I have no idea. But it's something. It's something, she wants to keep going. We all want her to continue, so it's something. Yeah. So my problem, well, okay, another problem is it's D&D 5th edition, which, yeah, if you're an experienced gamer and all that, it's really not a complicated system. But for her as a DM that has never DM'd before, in her 60s and all that, it's quite a handful. And it's getting more complicated as we're all like, wanting to level up and get more and more abilities and blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, oh boy. It's a lot for her to handle. So, my thought is to go back to like Maze Rats, just a super simple, like 1-page RPG, where she can just not worry about rules too much. The issue with that, though, that I thought about was like, all right, D&D 5th edition, all the monsters, every monster you would ever need or want, all the stats are already outlined. All their moves are outlined. They're all written down. You don't need to make up their armor, their health, their attacks, their defenses, their special ability, none of that. It's all written down, and you can just look it up in the monster manual. You go to something like Maze Rats, like a minimalist RPG, that's all on the DM to come up with. And sure, if you're experienced at DMing and all that, it's no problem. If I need to throw some goblins at them, it's easy. But, that's because I know exactly how strong or weak a goblin should be. I don't know how she would fare with that. Where very few rules are codified and it's more just about the narrative. Maybe that would be better, maybe it would be worse. Again, I just don't know. But yeah, that's what's happening there. Over with Mangg in our normal group. We started up Numenera. And Numenera is alright. I mean, it's a D20 system, so it's very familiar overall. And the problem with it compared to like Shadow the Demon Lord, which I love. I mean, I love Shadow the Demon Lord because there's just a kabillion character options. I mean, there's just so many choices for building out any character you could conceive of between all the different magic traditions, all the different master paths, expert paths, you know, novice path. I mean, it's just insane. It's so good. I love it. Like, someone should take Shadow the Demon Lord and make like a tactics video game off of it. That would be insanely good. It would be great. Numenera is like, all right, you get your class, essentially your type, which, ignoring the sort of supplement content, it's basically 3 choices. You're either like a warrior type, a mage type, or a rogue type, pretty much. Then you get a descriptor, which is basically like whether you're rugged or intelligent or clever. And this basically tells you a few skills you're good at and modifies like your stats a little. And then you have your focus, which gives you your actual like special abilities. And there's that's basically the one choice involved with your special abilities is which focus you pick. So if you pick that you can like move metal, that's it. That's the choice. Because when you level up, there's no choices between like, oh, do I want ability A or do I want ability B? It's like, no, there's just the ability. And you get more powerful, you know, as you level up, of course. You get new exciting abilities related to that, but there's no choices involved after that point. So, you know, I picked shapes liquid. So starting out, I can make basic shapes with liquid, basic objects and things. And then when I level up, I can make slightly bigger objects out of water and liquid. And then later on, I can make even bigger objects out of liquid. It's like, you know, it's not like you're not specializing in, I can make, you know, really good weapons, or I can make really big buildings. It's just, anyways. It's all right. It's all right, but who knows how long this will really last, this campaign. And so we started out. Ziggy wanted us all to have a memory of us dying. All our characters have memories of us dying, like vivid memories. And whether or not they actually happened is up to us, but we needed to have memories of us dying. And then at the start of the session, we woke up together. None of us know each other. We all woke up with very little memories of our earlier life, aside from we died. And we were approached by this guy who knew there's basically a prophecy in the area around people that awaken at those stones called Stoneborn. Yeah, this is not from Numenera. I mean, this is just Ziggy's custom thing. So people will awaken there with memories of them dying or something like that, and they have new abilities, and they are called Stoneborn. And the prophecy is that they come to this village nearby when the village is in time of need, and they bring hope to the village. This is apparently the village's prophecy. And there have not been Stoneborn in a long time, and so for us to suddenly arrive is very fortuitous, I guess. It kind of reminded me of the beginning of Arcanum, the PC game, where you just sort of like wake up after this massive like blimp crash as the only survivor, and there's a guy waiting there for you because there was a prophecy. It reminded me of that. I don't think Ziggy has played Arcanum, but anyways. So we went to the village. There was an elder there who knows of Stoneborn and was happy to see us arrive because this village has been plagued. They have been subjugated by this other powerful individual known as the Red Lord. And the Red Lord prevents any of them from leaving the area, and he demands, you know, like tribute in food and like wine and stuff. And so they have just been like they've been run ragged because of the Red Lord. And their hope is that the Stoneborn have come to free them from the Red Lord's subjugation. And so then, you know, we basically just spent the rest of the session trying to decide how can we assassinate the Red Lord. Which is tricky. I mean, we're very low technology, very low resources. They're basically like, you know, they're not even Bronze Age. I mean, these are basically like cave people fighting with spears and bows and, you know, very basic shit. And we don't have anything on us. I mean, we woke up naked, aside from like gray robes. We have our special abilities, but we're level 1. We're tier 1. We're very basic. Now, the big boon here is that I have Shapes Liquid. So if I have liquid of any kind nearby, I can make objects out of it that last for an hour. And as long as these objects don't have moving parts, but you can make a bunch of objects that don't have moving parts and combine them to make something a little bit more sophisticated. So I think by default, I couldn't make a bow because it's like 2 separate components. But if I just make the 2 separate components, you know, if I make the shaft and the string and combine them, you know, sort of tie with them up, I could make a bow out of water that lasts for an hour. And I could make that basically as much as I want as long as I have enough liquid. And luckily we started next to a freaking ocean. Ziggy didn't think about that one. So yeah, I mean, I can easily arm the entire village for an hour. And I think I mean, this is the thing, when you give me abilities and you don't clearly define every aspect of it, that allows me and Ziggy to interpret it, you know, however we decide. So we decided that I have to actually touch the liquid, like physically, in order to manipulate it. The text does not say this, but this is what we decided as a limitation, because otherwise I could start just like, I could start fucking with the blood in people's bodies, and, you know, it starts to get really ridiculous very quickly. So yeah, I have to touch it, but, you know, it doesn't say that I can't just like reconfigure the liquid before the hour is up and just sort of refresh it. So, you know, as long as I get to somebody who's using a water sword before the hour is up, I could probably just touch the water sword and redo it to extend it for another hour. I don't see a problem with that. It's not like the water disintegrates and evaporates instantly or whatever, you know. So doesn't that mean when someone is bleeding, I could do something with it? Yeah. Potentially. That's sort of the big question, is like, they get a cut on their arm. The blood on their arm is physically connected to the rest of their blood in their body. So that situation hasn't come up, and I think we'll burn that bridge when we get to it. I don't know what I can really do with that. That's up to Ziggy, I think. It's possible. But yeah, so the objects that I make out of the liquid have the right density of the object that I'm trying to mimic. So when I make a sword out of water, it's hard enough as if it were a sword. You can hit people with it. So this really allows for a lot of abuse. Because, especially when you're trying to have this like really low resource situation. Like, if we didn't have that, we would have nothing. I mean, we would have nothing available to us. But with that, I can make anything we can think of that doesn't have moving parts out of the ocean of water next to us. So this led to a very funny situation in which we wanted to create armor out of like some bear hides or something like that, or deer hide, which is what you would normally want to do in such a situation. But you need a lot of salt in order to cure the hides. And they didn't have salt. Why would they have, you know, they're not next to a salt mine or something like that. And so, of course, I can just make armor out of water, as we eventually discovered. It actually says that in the book, in the description of the thing, is that I could make, like, a jerkin. You know, I could make, like, essentially leather armor out of water. I think it actually would be closer to, like, wooden armor, but I digress. But the funny thing was, like, okay, well, we have an whole ocean of salt water. Why don't I just create, like, a sieve out of water that I can use to filter the seawater and get the salt from it? Now, I don't think this would actually work. I tried looking this up. I tried Googling it later. Because I think they can do this, but you need, like, graphene or something like that. Boiling seawater is an old-time way to get salt. That's true. That's true. I think it was more like a time issue or something like that, or I don't know. They didn't have that ready. I don't know how long it would take to boil that amount of salt water. But anyways, so what I did probably would not work realistically, but then again, who knows? Because we're shaping water into, like, a sieve. So, anyway, that's how I spent today, was just gathering salt that way. Which we probably won't even use, because I'll just make water armor anyways. Could I not just pull moisture out of the air to use anyways? Yes, that is my level 2 ability. And that's where it starts to get really obscene, is that at any point, I can pull moisture out of the air to make, like, 100 gallons worth of water. Which seems obscene to me. But that's the level 2 ability. So at any point, as long as there's, like, atmosphere, I have essentially unlimited amounts of water that I can just fuck around with. And then I think at level 4, I can start making objects with moving parts. And then it gets really ridiculous. Because not only can I start just making stuff like crossbows and things, or guns. I mean, I'm pretty sure guns exist in Numenera. Unless I'm really mistaken. But why would you ever make a crossbow when you could just make a water gun that shoots hard water bullets? But also you can make ciphers. This is the crazy thing to me. Ciphers in Numenera are basically objects from, like, the past civilizations. These are pieces of, like, super advanced technology that can do anything. I mean, it's literally, it's like magic, basically. It's like magic items based on the DM just coming up with, I mean, it can reverse gravity. It can do laser bursts. You know, you can have thermal detonators. You can have things that just, like, basically like pills, like SCP-5000 or 500. I'm sorry, SCP-500. When I ran a SCP Numenera thing, I had that as a cipher. It's just like it healed you for the full any diseases you had. What, you know, it's just anything you can think of as a cipher. And me being able to just make ciphers out of water, it's insane. Now, you have to have had a cipher before that you're trying to recreate. So you can't just come up with anything. You have to have had it before. And it comes in as, like, a weaker form. So it doesn't come in as, like, the same strength of cipher. But still, being able to just make unlimited thermal detonators out of water. I mean, it's just, oh my god. Yeah, so this is, I love shit like this. Giving me abilities in an RPG that are only limited by my creativity, that's how I break games. With all the water in a body, I can just kill it will by removing it from them. Yeah, well, that's the thing, is that I have to physically touch the liquid. And pulling from the atmosphere, I don't think that counts as, like, pulling from a human. That's not the intent of that ability. But I'm not even worried about just being able to kill somebody at will when I can make unlimited thermal detonators out of water. Yeah. Yeah. Or I can just start making water miniguns that shoot, you know, like 50 caliber water bullets. I mean, it's just like, why is this in the game? When someone else, like, you could... It's just so funny to me, because it's like, okay, yeah, you could pick that as your special focus. You could pick this thing where you can make miniguns out of water that you find, and you can just pull out of the atmosphere. You could pick that, or let's see, I'm going to pull up the core book here. What's something else you could pick for a focus? You could pick carries a quiver. Yeah, that's the focus. Carries a quiver, in which basically you are good with a bow. And you can spend some like attribute points during a fight to do more damage with your bow. And you can also make your own arrows. Whew. Holy shit. Oh, that's pretty good. Or, oh gosh, what else could you pick? Entertains. Where you're good at putting on performances. And, if you entertain your friends, they get to recover like a little bit more HP. And, you can pick some extra areas of knowledge that you know about. At tier 4, you can get an ability where you joke with an enemy and you prevent them from attacking for 1 round. At that same tier, I can make fucking thermal detonators and miniguns out of piss. I mean, obviously, you know, not every character is about being like the most overpowered, insane thing, you know, in existence. It's just funny to me. Now, chances are, I don't even know if we'll get to like tier 4 or whatever. You know, I don't know if we'll play for that long with this campaign, especially if I keep breaking things in the first session. But yeah. So that's good. So basically, our plan for killing the Red Lord didn't involve much of my liquid shaping, because I couldn't really think of something. This guy is super powerful. I mean, this guy's like challenge rating of 6 out of 10 for the entire game, you know? So basically, in D&D terms, if the max level was 20, this guy would be like level 12. I mean, if that's a rough comparison or something like that. I mean, it's really difficult to even hit this guy. So doing any sort of like ambush thing is just not going to be great. So we figured the best thing to do is right away I asked the village if they had like any poisonous berries. And my original thought was like, I could take the liquid poison that they use from these berries, and I could just make like an arrow entirely out of this poison. But it brings up the interesting question of sort of the difference between poison and venom. It's like poison is poisonous if you eat it. Venom is venomous if it enters your bloodstream. So I don't know if shooting someone with a poisonous arrow actually does anything more than a regular arrow. Whereas we need him to like consume it. Maybe it would do something. Maybe it would do something. It's hard to say. I don't know if this has ever happened in the history of mankind. But we decided this guy comes every like couple week or every week or something for a tribute. And these people in this village make wine. So why don't we just poison the wine? Poison entering your blood will still work. Okay. Well, that's good to know. Because I remember reading like snake venom, you could just drink snake venom. And as long as you don't have any like open cuts in your like sort of esophagus or stomach lining or something like that, it wouldn't do anything to you because it doesn't ever enter your bloodstream. But I guess it doesn't work the same way with poison. If poison enters your bloodstream, you're still fucked. So that's good to know. But the problem was towards the end of the session, Ziggy got fed up with probably all my liquid shaping nonsense and all this sort of bullshit. So he sort of forced Studs' character to go meet with the Red Lord privately during the night. And now the Red Lord knows of our existence. He knows that we're Stoneborn and we probably want to kill him. So he's like basically going to force us to meet with him, and probably a fight is going to ensue, or we have to like do something for him to avoid a fight, or who knows what's going to happen. Because I don't think in a straight up fight we can beat this guy until I get my miniguns and my thermal detonators. I don't know. So that's basically where we ended the session. We wasted a lot of time doing like water sieves and things like that. But I'm very looking forward to it because I want to survive and I want to keep going until I get my miniguns, my water guns. Yeah. So that's that. All right. I think I've talked enough. Yeah, we're almost at an hour and a half. Time slips away with you when I'm talking about shaping liquid. And it's funny, of all the characters I could have made, I was flipping through all the foci in the core book and in the supplemental books. I was just flipping through all of them, and my eyes just lasered in on shapes liquid. I'm like, that would be cool. My brain just knew immediately, like, yep, this is probably going to be the most broken one here. Look at this. This could be your focus instead. Lives in the wilderness. Tier 1. You're trained in climbing and swimming. That's it. Like, it's just insane. I could make any simple object I can think of out of water, or I could be good at climbing and swimming. Oh boy. Anyways, so yeah, check out the Oniroi collective video tomorrow for some extra weirdness on the Exploring series. Story of Final Fantasy XIV episode 6 later this week. On this channel we got Divinity Original Sin 2 continuing, Doom Eternal Ancient Gods Part 2 this week, into Monster Hunter Rise on Friday. That should be plenty of fun. Roll Manging tomorrow. Some more shape liquid fun. Dark Pictures Little Hope on Wednesday. Two Brothers Play Final Fantasy X finishing on Saturday. All around good stuff. Hopefully some good news on my house this week. That would be great. But yeah, my name is Mangg. This has been Hanging with Mangg. And I'll see you fine folks next week.